Hello, everybody. It's me, Jason McIntyre. He is Geoff Schwartz. We are Talk the Line. It's Thursday, week 13 in the NFL. We're trudging through into the month of December. And Geoff Schwartz, without further ado, let's take a look at the board, shall we? We have a great slate of games this week. Not too many teams with winning records facing off. But as I see it right now, Geoff, looks like 4 double-digit favorites. We know they are 7-9-1 against the spread this season. 6 home dogs, count them, 6. Geoff, we got a great slate of games. This should be fun, right? We're coming off a pretty good week, right?
Yeah, look, obviously week 12 barely just ended as we get into week 13. And yes, you're right. There are a lot of big lines, but I think a lot of places we can still find some value for this weekend.
Yeah, no Thursday night football, so a extra Monday night football game. I'm fired up. Let's hit it. Let's get started with everybody's favorite team, the Cleveland Browns. Their record is phenomenal. I think they're 8-3, Geoff. Stunning stuff. They are 6-point dogs in Tennessee.
Yes.
Now, that's a big number. Tennessee favored by 6 coming off a walloping of the Indianapolis Colts. This kind of, to me, Geoff, feels like a sell high on Tennessee. They just hung 45 on the Colts. And maybe, a buy low on Cleveland, which I know has 8 wins. However, this is a Cleveland team that didn't cover the spread against Jacksonville last week. Big total here of 54 with 2 running teams. Geoff, how do you break this one down?
Well, the line has moved too, right? Open at Titans favored by 3. Their big win plus the Browns struggle now at 6. And I'm buying the Tennessee Titans here at 6 I'd even go up to 6.5 here. And here's the reason why. The Cleveland Browns are 8-3. They have done a great job. They are going to be a playoff team. But Football Outsiders, who has the industry standard kind of efficiency number, the DVOA number we talk about quite often, measures efficiency, they have them as the worst 8-3 team ever that they've ever recorded over the years of doing their efficiency totals. They have a negative 21-point differential, which is the worst in NFL history for a team 8-3 past week 11. So yes, they're 8-3, but they're kind of not a good 8-3, right? They're kind of sneaking by, and they're beating bad teams. They're beating teams, especially at home over that 3-game stretch in bad weather. Now they're going on the road to Tennessee to a Titans team that's starting to feel their rhythm, right? Derrick Henry, 5.5 yards per average the last 3 games. Ryan Tannehill's getting in a groove. Their offensive line is settling down with a bunch of injuries. Defense playing a little bit better now. I think the Tennessee Titans take it to the Browns this weekend. I can see this game being not even close.
Interesting. So on Monday's show with Colin and Carissa, I like Tennessee, but the number was 4. Yeah. I don't know about at 6, Geoff. It's a big number for Tennessee. This is a team as a favorite, just 2-5 against the spread. And Geoff, they're coming off a 3-game stretch facing divisional rival Colts. They lost that Thursday night. Then a physical one with the Ravens, real tough game. Okay. And then they played the Colts again. And I just wonder from a how many times in a row can you really do this? Can the Tennessee Titans show up here against a team they should hammer? Now, Myles Garrett returns for Cleveland. And Baker Mayfield, I just want to say this. He is at his worst under pressure, right? Over the last couple of years. Pressure Baker. He scrambles. He's got the happy feet in the pocket. And guess what? He hasn't thrown a pick in 4 weeks. And Tennessee is 31st in pressure rate. So I think Baker Mayfield could keep this close. I mean, maybe they play keep away from Derrick Henry, right? With Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Is there a case to be made that 6 may be high, Geoff?
Look, 6 is definitely high. Like I said early on, when you get 4 or even, I think somewhere even open at 3 some places. So going to 6 is not ideal for the value. I get your point about Tennessee kind of playing 3 physical games in a row, but I feel like their mindset is, hey, this is 2019, guys. This is us getting hot at the right time. Let's keep this formula going, right? We're getting better on defense. You mentioned pressure rate. They're not much better on third down, but they are a little bit better. But dude, Baker Mayfield, man, is not a good quarterback right now. He hasn't been good for months. And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to expect on the road against Tennessee just magically becomes a good quarterback again. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. And I think the Browns are in for a rude awakening. They're playing a good team. Tennessee is a good football team, and they haven't played a good team in good weather. Remember, they played the Raiders in the snow and the wind. They played Texans in the snow and the wind. This is going to be a good weather game for them on the road in Nashville.
This is a rare instance, Geoff, before we get to the props. I feel stronger on the total. I like the over here. This Tennessee offense, I'm going to say this. Last year, I didn't buy it, right? Ryan Tannehill set the world on fire. He was phenomenal. And, I compare it to my kids eating vegetables, right? I tell them every night, you got to eat vegetables. They're like, no, Dad, I don't like carrots. Okay, maybe tonight they'll eat spinach. Okay, no, Dad, I'm not eating. I've been a doubter of this Tennessee offense, waiting for Ryan Tannehill to come back to earth, to turn into a pumpkin, the guy he was in Miami. Remember, it was like 6 years. Come on. Ryan Tannehill's just killing it. They have the number 3 offense in the league. I can see success on both sides. I like the total of 54. Geoff, let's get to the prop bets. Here we go. This one was a surprise when I saw producer Conrad pop it. Nick Chubb, 64.5 rushing yards. I kind of want to jump on a private jet, Geoff. Maybe you could charter it and get to a state where I can pound this over. 64.5?
Yeah, Titans allow 115 yards a game on the ground. The one consideration I had for this is the line is set considering that the Browns might be behind in this game and not rushing the football as much as they normally would. But I would say that if you're playing a close game, which I don't anticipate, but if there is, then this is an over bet all the way. 64 yards. I get they split carries with Kareem Hunt, but I got to lean over here, especially, like I said, Titans defense allowing 115 yards per game on the ground.
And what would be a Titans game without a prop bet of Derrick Henry? Let's see his total for this one. 89.5 rushing yards. Again, I noted Myles Garrett is back. We don't know if he'll be 100%. The key here is the Cleveland secondary. Denzel Ward not coming back, and Harrison, their safety, he also will be out. So, I don't know how they plan on stopping the pass or the run. Derrick Henry, he had like a $150 on the Colts at halftime last week, Geoff. Does he hit 89.5?
I think last week, on Sunday's show, I told you to take the under for Derrick Henry against the Colts. And I believe I got a text from you and Conrad midway through the first quarter when he had 97 yards already. So I'm going to go over here. This is what their offense is. And for some reason, and I don't know the reason, he is better in the second half of the season. The more carries he gets, the better he becomes. This Titans offensive line, and I get the Colts were out some guys, but they were blowing the Colts defense off the ball every play. Henry was getting to the second level without being touched multiple times. I would lean over here easily.
All right, let's get to the next game. It is the Washington Football Club traveling to Pittsburgh. Now, folks, this line on the look ahead was double digits, and it's down to 7.5. Pittsburgh coming off the rare Wednesday football game. Washington coming off Thanksgiving. So they get 10 days rest.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I believe it's 4 days rest for this one. Here's the big story with Pittsburgh is Bud Dupree, the defensive end, looks like an ACL. He's done for the year. That's 2 pivotal guys in your front 7 not going to be there for the rest of the season for Pittsburgh. That's brutal. And this is a sleepy spot, Geoff. Before you take it, I'm just going to say Pittsburgh had the rivalry game with the Ravens. Next week on deck, the Buffalo Bills, a big rematch from a late last season game where Pittsburgh needed it to get to the playoffs. Pittsburgh had 5 turnovers with the backup quarterback, and Buffalo, third best team in the AFC this year. I don't know. Is this a letdown for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers?
Well, I definitely think it will be. And I'm not quite sure. I feel great at 7.5 for Washington, considering the look-ahead line was a larger. But I'm eyeing the total here of 47.5. I would go under here. Pittsburgh, you mentioned, on a short week, and Washington's had plenty of time now, and they have a good defense to prepare. On the flip side, I know Dupree's out, but the Steelers' defense is elite, guys. It's an elite defense. I really think they give Washington's offense a lot of trouble. It's not the Cowboys' defense, right? It's the Steelers' defense. So I think Pittsburgh is very sluggish on offense, which we saw yesterday against a above-average Washington football team defense. On the flip side, I really think that I know Dupree's out, but Washington's offensive line cannot handle Pittsburgh. I lean a very low-scoring game here. I would feel more comfortable taking the under. If this was like Washington plus 8.5, 9, 10, I lean Washington. But Pittsburgh, again, Jason, for like the 100th time we said this season, when they are a big favorite, they do not play well. That's not what they do well. I would not back them here.
Now, Geoff, as a former player, I got to ask, when a gambling guy like myself says, there's a potential letdown here after the rivalry game, a sandwich spot, you laugh at me and say, Jason, the players don't think about that stuff. But, Geoff, let me say that. After their last game with the Ravens, Pittsburgh's, they then went to Dallas, and what happened? They were trailing for 3 quarters, sleepy, and then they pull out the victory late. A gambler says there's something there. The player says...
I don't recall ever thinking ahead. I do think that players, generally speaking, look at a schedule and kind of circle off the wins, right? Okay, we're going to win this game. We're going to win that game. I don't know if it goes into the actual game of playing Washington and thinking, hey, we can take this one easy. But I do think there's something to the attitude. We can because we have a tough game next week, maybe if we play like 80% this week, we'll win the game, right? And that just doesn't work in the NFL because the other team is playing 100%. As bad as the Ravens were yesterday with all those guys out, they're still NFL players, right? They still deserve to be in the field, and they want to play really hard knowing this is an opportunity for them to play. So it doesn't really manifest itself in ideally saying like, we play the Bills next week, we're not going to pay attention to the game. But I do think that you don't just play as hard when you play a bad team like this.
He just dropped the word manifest, folks. That's like a SAT vocabulary word on a gambling show. I'm impressed, Geoff. I quickly want to note, on Thanksgiving, I was way off on Washington-Dallas. I think you nailed that game correctly. But again, I look back at that game and my handicap was I don't trust Alex Smith in the offense. Washington had 3 scoring drives of 25 yards or less due to Dallas ineptitude. Okay, 17 points on 25 yards or less drives and a pick 6 at the end. So again, I say I was way wrong on Washington-Dallas, but again, this is a Washington team that's benefited from their opponents more than anything. Any quick thoughts on Alex Smith before we get to the prop?
Look, it's incredible what he's done. I did not think that he would play again. I thought that he was on the roster. His salary is guaranteed, so he's going to be in the roster, but kind of just a motivational, right? Is someone you want to inspire to be Alex Smith, and he'll be the player coach that he was for Colin Kaepernick's growth and for Pat Mahomes' growth, and I thought he would help Haskins as well. He's just been phenomenal just to get it back. But yeah, he's not an elite quarterback right now, and against this defense, he's going to struggle.
Okay, against the number 1 defense, our prop bet, Alex Smith, over under 204.5 passing yards. Now, quick note, Tracy McSorley was the 3rd stringer for Baltimore. He completed one, kind of deep pass to Hollywood Brown, who took it the distance. You get one of those 60-yard plays to Terry McLaurin, and it's game on for this prop, Geoff. But 204.5, he's going to be running for his life with TJ Watt out there. I don't know about this.
Yeah, I lead under here. I just think, again, it's going to be it's going to remind me of the game we just played, like 1914. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be fun to watch.
And shout out to Antonio Gibson, whoever that guy is. He has been tremendous for Washington as a running back. Pittsburgh can be run on. Ravens had, remember, 265 yards in the earlier meeting. So be careful with Alex Smith, but take an eye on Antonio Gibson props. Let's roll it to the next game. And this is maybe the best game of the week. Rams favored by 3 on the road in Arizona. I have a lot of thoughts on this one, Geoff. We could probably do 30 minutes on this. However, I've got to start here. Sean McVay, one of the best coaches in the league. I get on Cowherd's case every week when he took away McVay's genius card. You remember that? McVay has owned Arizona since getting to the Rams. 6-0, 6-0 against the spread. Now, only the 2 games last year were against Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, but he beat them handily in both those games. Rams, though, favored by 3 on the road, coming off a pretty bad loss to the 49ers.
The Rams are an interesting team because these trends hold up pretty well, right? Like, for example, the 49ers always play the Rams well, and they went into L.A. and beat the Niners. The Rams play the Seahawks really well, and the Rams always beat the Seahawks. And now the Rams are going, you mentioned 6-0, and they covered 6 times, and I think they cover a 7th time for a couple of reasons. One is obviously they played poorly against the Niners, and they know it. And they know that they're better than that game against San Francisco. But I have concern, Jason, about Kyler Murray right now. That shoulder injury seems to be a concern. Their offense has not been the same the last couple of weeks. And I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury. He end-of-game situation, end-of-half situations, it's just not good. I think Sean McVay is a better coach. I have a team off a loss. I have a questionable Kyler Murray. Rams pass defense, number 1 in the NFL at defending the deep pass, which Kyler Murray does very well. Who's going to block Aaron Donald? The line's not great. 3 points is not the best. We could get under 3 maybe at some point, but I lean the Rams here.
Yeah, just a quick matchup note here. I'm fascinated by Jalen Ramsey versus DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
We've seen Ramsey take away DK Metcalf from Russell Wilson. Seattle struggled offensively. If Ramsey remove Hopkins, okay, what are we looking at here for Kyler Murray? Kenyon Drake, a couple tight ends who are, decent players, 40-year-old Larry Fitzgerald. Can Christian Kirk do any damage deep against what you just said is one of the best deep ball defenses in the league? Again, I like this Arizona team. I have money on them to get to the playoffs. It's looking kind of bleak. Lost 3 of 4, and that win was on a Hail Mary against Buffalo. So it's a tough case. And a final note, Arizona, most penalized team in the league. So that goes to your not trusting Cliff Kingsbury, just an undisciplined group. Let's get to the prop bet. It is a guy near and dear to my heart. I am a huge fan of this kid, Kyler Murray. Now, this is great that they pulled this number, 34.5. Going into last week, Geoff, Kyler Murray, when he had under 31 rushing yards, Arizona won 8-1. Okay? He needs to run the football. And as you said, the shoulder's a problem. Definitely he was favoring it. He did not want to tuck and run against the Patriots. One thing I noticed, because I lost that game, I was on the Cardinals.
Same here.
Geoff, and we'll get to him in a minute. Belichick had a new strategy. As you're an offensive lineman, you can tell me about this. The Patriots didn't so much as pass rush, but kind of stayed, and had their hands up, and the defenders were looking to more bat down passes or clear the lanes as opposed to get to Kyler. I thought that strategy was pretty smart, and Kyler didn't adjust very well.
No, I mean, look, Bill Belichick is a genius, right? And the way he's able to design a game plan, and it's about also his players just buy in. They do exactly what they're told. Now, obviously, it makes sense because Bill Belichick is such a great defensive coach. And, yeah, they were finding ways they were rushing up the middle of the field, right? They're finding ways to kind of affect Kyler Murray from the pocket inside out. And then, obviously, just kind of stand there and bat balls down. Look, Murray's had 15 rushing yards last week or 2 weeks ago and 31 last week. If he's not 100%, this offense is not the same, right? They use Kyler Murray in a variety of ways, but his best asset, his best attribute is running the ball in the red zone. He's great in the red zone. And when they can't do that, we saw last weekend, it's tough to score points for them when the field really condenses down because the offense is not set up for that type of passing game. So I would be very concerned here to bet on Arizona unless you know Kyler Murray is back to 100%.
Yeah, you're going to want to watch injury reports. We talk about it every week. Let's get to the next game. And this one, it's one of those, what do you do? Divisional matchup, Saints at the Falcons. We just saw this 2 weeks ago, okay? And the Saints were about a 3.5 point favorite. Now they're 2.5. Falcons, of course, coming off a 43-6 beatdown of the Las Vegas Raiders. I saw this stat, Geoff, that I just have to toss out. I don't know how accurate it is, but I did see it. I've asked our Fox research to dig in. They're looking into it. In the last 11 years, divisional matchups, right? The teams play twice in 3 weeks. The team that lost the first game, 19-4 against the spread in the second meeting. That, again, it's a trend. It's not predicative. That would lean toward Atlanta here, but they're only getting 2.5, not the full 3. Your thoughts?
So ideally you take them at the +3, right? Because we talked about this often, the important numbers 3, 7, and 10, where a lot of games end up hitting in the NFL around those numbers. But I actually think Atlanta wins this game outright for a couple of reasons. I hate saying that because I just betting on Atlanta, they rip your heart out every single time you do it. It's really tough to bet on Atlanta because you just never figure out what team you're getting. But I'm glad you mentioned the point of playing someone twice in 3 weeks. And this is very specific to Taysom Hill, right? So the Saints, when they bring Taysom Hill in the game, they have a different offense. Yes, they run some of their old offense, but a lot of times it's a lot of those quarterback reads, pulling linemen, figuring out kind of spots to run Taysom Hill. He's reading the defense, right? It's very hard to play that the first time because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what plays you're going to do, how they're going to attack you. The second time around, Jason, you have a much better understanding of how they're going to attack you and what plays you're on. It's not a wide menu. It's not a big menu of plays. They're on the same stuff. So I think the Atlanta Falcons defense, by the way, will win this game for them. Raheem Morris has been in there for 6 games now. They've lowered their points per game from 32 to 20 on defense, and they're 6th in overall efficiency during that time. So now you get a second opportunity at Taysom Hill, who doesn't throw the ball, right? His longest completion against them 2 weeks ago was that bomb that he underthrew by 35 yards. It was like a punt that was caught. I just don't. So that really worries me if you're back in the Saints here. On the other side, the Atlanta offense was embarrassed in this game 2 weeks ago, right? They gave up 8 sacks. A lot of those attribute to Matt Ryan anyways, but it was a bad offensive performance. That offense will be pissed off. They're going to want to show that that's not who they are, and there's a little bit of pride factor for that offense. I think Atlanta wins this game outright. It's tough to bet on them because they're frustrating to bet on. But I think it's the right spot to take Atlanta.
I will note that if I were Sean Payton and I'm into game theory and changing it up, I would say let's start Jameis Winston because they're going to be ready for Taysom Hill, as you noted. We just saw that. We know Taysom Hill, they don't have a huge playbook for him. I would toss Jameis Winston in there and totally give him a curveball that they're not ready for. But I don't think Payton does that. Let's get to the prop bets. And listen, the first prop, Geoff, is a guy who has not been utilized much under Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara. Now, maybe Sean Payton's been waiting this, holding out, waiting and saying, then let's unleash him in the second meeting. So. Kamara's done nothing really the last 2 weeks. Fantasy owners are upset. I know we don't care about them, but 54.5 rushing yards against an improving Falcons D.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would just say over, just generally speaking, but look, the offense, when you have these zone read plays, right, where the quarterback is reading a guy and then he can keep the ball or give the ball, it's not a predetermined run, right? So you're not saying, Kamara, you're getting the ball on this carry. It's determined by what the defense gives you. So it's very tough to predict how many yards a running back will get because you don't know how the defense will react to that. If I was a defense, I would always make the quarterback keep the ball. I'd rather hit the quarterback as much as possible, tire him out, possibly get him injured, than I would allowing the running back to do his job. The Falcons would, I think, rather have Taysom Hill keep the ball. So it's hard to have the Falcons, hard to bet on a running back over in a game where he might only get 11 or 12 touches compared to Taysom Hill keeping the ball more often.
All right, if you don't like the Kamara bet, there's a second prop on this one. Now, this one is, listen, they've jammed Taysom Hill down our throat as a prop guy the last 2 weeks. Over under 1.5 passing touchdowns. My earpiece fell out, but they're telling me no touchdown passes yet in the last 2 games for Taysom Hill. Geoff, I don't know why we're seeing a 1.5. I thought they had set it at 0.5, but fire away.
No, I take under here. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in like 7 years. I would say under here.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the next game. It's a good one. This is one of the better AFC battles I like this week. Indianapolis Colts 3.5-point favorites in Houston, total of 51. Now, folks, this has been, and we'll talk about it Sunday on the show with line movement, okay? This crept down to Indy 2.5 on Monday. Then, however, came the bad news for the Texans. Their best receiver, Will Fuller, popped for PEDs. See ya. Then their best cornerback, Bradley Roby, also PEDs. Boy, those guys have been working out together, I guess. And now the line's ballooned up to 3.5.
Yeah.
Geoff, we were in disagreement on Colts Titans last week. Yeah. Are you back on the Colts this week?
So this is one of those games where I think you have to come back Sunday and listen to us talk about it because the Colts injury report is going to be a big factor in this game. If you look at what happened last week, and you were exactly right on this, is they didn't have Buckner, they didn't have Autry, and their defense struggled. When DeForest Buckner's not on the field, their pressure rate drops by 5%. They allow almost 2 yards more carry when he's not on the field. On the flip side, they might be out their center and their left tackle. When both those guys are out, their pressure rate on offense goes up 15%. Now you have J.J. Watt entering the building. So those are things to be concerned about if you're back in the Colts here. But the Texans aren't very good, folks. Like, they're just not a good football team. You mentioned they lose their best wide receiver, their best corner. They can't run the football. So I still lean the Colts here. And really, I think the totals in play here is an under, possibly. Yeah. But I think you have to wait until Sunday to see who's playing in this game before you can smartly make a bet on anything in this game.
Yeah. The latest I'm seeing here, it looks like Jonathan Taylor, the rookie running back, leads them in rushing yards. He's active off the COVID list. DeForest Buckner also off the COVID list. No word on the center, who's pivotal, right? Again, Rivers has that bum toe, and no word on Costanzo, but it sounds like he's probably a no-go. And
right. He didn't practice.
If you guys want to look back to last year, do some Googling. It was not good sledding for Rivers without Costanzo. Quick note, Geoff, this is a Colts team that gave up 35 points in the first half to Tennessee last week. They hadn't given up 35 in a game this year. For me, it's looking at the Colts because of, number one, Frank Reich. One of the bigger coaching mismatches this week against Romeo Crennel. No disrespect to Crennel. Good football mind. Frank Reich, for my money, Geoff, he's become a top 5 coach in the NFL.
He's been fantastic, and I'm excited to talk about our next game eventually because that's the biggest coaching mismatch we're going to have.
All right, no teases, yeah.
So I'm getting ready for it. Let's do it.
All right, let's get to the prop real quick. It's Deshawn Watson, who is on a torrid streak. I believe it's 16 touchdowns, 0 picks in the last 5 games. It's some Jacksonville in there, so how much do you read into it? 272.5 passing yards. His top 2 options, Kiki Kuti, whatever that is, and Brandon Stills. Then they're calling up practice squad guys. It's 272. That's a lot of yardage, but they also have no run game. So who knows? Before you answer, Geoff, You noted the under here. To me, this looks like a smash mouth Colts game. Let's go heavy with the two tight ends. Let's run the ball down their throat, keep away from Watson. I don't think he gets to that number.
It's going to be really tough. You mentioned everyone being down. The Colts have an excellent pass defense, and they rush the passer really well. And as much as Watson has played outstanding, I just wish he can't go anywhere, but they bring in the right head coach, and they don't have a lot of roster flexibility, but they find a way to put a team around him that's respectable, because Deshawn Watson is a fantastic talent, and he's really played well this year. But I think your point's accurate. They're going to run the football, the Colts. They're going to play ball control, and I would lean slightly under here.
Okay, let's get to the game. Geoff was teasing. Everybody's talking about it, especially me, because I lost on them last week. The LA Chargers are at home, and they're 1-point dogs to the New England Patriots. This is the matchup. Bill Belichick, greatest coach in NFL history, probably. Anthony Lynn, who you're going to hear from Geoff shortly. He's not the greatest coach ever in anything. But Geoff, quickly. New England Patriots won last week against Arizona. Again, that one hurt me personally, financially. They had, I believe, 189 yards of total offense.
Yes.
I just want to say, before he pumps up Belichick versus Anthony Lynn, this is not a good New England Patriots football team. All right, Geoff, go ahead.
No, it's not a good New England Patriots football team. You're exactly right. There's no doubt about that. I'm not betting on the talent of New England against the talent of the Chargers. The Chargers are a better football team. They have more talent. They're better at quarterback. They're more explosive on defense. They rush up. All things that are great. But Anthony Lynn is a bad coach. He might be the nicest person ever. I don't know him. Everyone talks about him in a great manner. I'm sure he's the greatest dude ever. I liked him on Hard Knocks. Terrible coach. 4-16 in one-score games in our last 20 games. Did you see the end of the game last weekend?
Yes, I did. I lost a lot of money on that.
The final play of the game, they somehow they ran a QB sneak with their offensive line, pass protecting. That sums up the chart. He said this week, Jason, to his team, we are probably out of the playoff hunt. Well, yes, you might be probably out of the playoff hunt, but why would you tell your team that? Like, come on, dude. You have to pretend you're in this thing that you get eliminated. Why are you saying things like this? So now I get Bill Belichick against Anthony Lynn. The Chargers are 32nd special teams. The Patriots are 4th. The Patriots don't get penalized. They're good on special teams. They do the right things. The Chargers do not do the right things ever. They never do the right things. Giving the Patriots to go into L.A., and they're staying in L.A., by the way, to play the Rams the following week. So don't make themselves comfortable there. I think they win this game.
No, maybe I'll try to grab a beer with Belichick if any bars are open out here in L.A. Bill Belichick, 19-5 against rookie quarterbacks. We both have a man crush on Justin Herbert. This will be a tall order. I do want to add this. I have it in my notes that you really got to be careful betting on coaches. And again, the talent on the Chargers is significantly better, Geoff. We can agree on that. The Chargers have much better talent on both sides of the football. Go look up what Joey Bosa did last week to Josh Allen. One of the great performances of the year. He was mic'd up. I mean, he's living in the backfield. He had to pay rent. He was back there so often. He had like 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks.
Great.
He can wreck this game. Cam Newton is not playing at a high level right now. I know that holding your nose and betting on this is difficult, but I am going to be betting Anthony Lynn and the Chargers. Geoff, and I'm going to be crying Sunday morning, when you tear me apart. But that's a side here for me. All right, let's go to the prop bet. It is my main man, Austin Eckler, made his return. This is how good Anthony Lynn is of a coach. Eckler had been out with a torn hamstring to the bone. He was out for 2 months, maybe more. And in his first game back, the guy had 14 targets,
16.
and 16 carries, just working him to. I mean, what are you doing? Ease the guy back in, Lynn. But at either rate, Austin Eckler over under 5.5 receptions against the Patriots.
He had 16 targets. He had 11 early in the year. Other than that, he's been held to under 4. I'm being slightly over here for a specific reason. Belichick tries to take away your best thing they do, right? So he's going to try to take away Keenan Allen. That's what they're going to try to do. They're going to put Stephon Gilmore. They might put him on Mike Williams and double Keenan Allen. That's what Belichick has done for so many years. You put your 1 on number 2 and you double number 1. So Eckler might be the option for Herbert to bail out of a lot of plays. So I actually think that this might be an opportunity to get Eckler over here just for that reason. The kind of the bailout, find your safety valve, it'd be Eckler.
All right, one more really good game before we get to a primetime affair. It is the Buffalo Bills traveling to Arizona. You guys need to note that. San Fran COVID, blah, blah, blah. They can't play at home. They got to play in Arizona. So Buffalo's a 1.5-point favorite going back to the place where they just lost on a Hail Mary to Kyler Murray. And fun nugget here. Buffalo Bills have not won on Monday Night Football since 1999. I think Josh Allen might have been in diapers. I'm not certain of that. But, Geoff, any early thoughts on this one?
This is the one I've had the most trouble with all week. The Niners are playing with a bunch of backups. And you mentioned before the show, Deebo Samuel is injured or out today from practice, which is a big loss if he can't play. Mostert came back last week. They played better, but they still have so many guys out. And Kyle Shanahan is a fantastic coach. He gets the most out of this team each and every week. But the Bills are just better. They're just a better football team, and they're just as well coached, right? So, the line is closer than I thought it would be, and maybe that's because the Niners won last weekend and the Bills look kind of like being the Chargers. But I think I got to lean Buffalo here. I just get the better team, well coached, like I said, and I can't be fooled by the Niners being the Rams. The Niners have owned the Rams. I don't think that's indicative of who they really are. So give me the Bills here, short road favorites. They win this game by about a field goal.
Yeah, I need more information on the Niners injury report before I can fire on this game. But I am looking at San Fran. Richard Sherman was back. Let's see the rest of the injuries and how it shapes out. I'm telling you, Kyle Shanahan, we talked about great coaches. Maybe we'll rank the great coaches in the league you like gambling on. Shanahan's up there for me. Just a great schemer.
Oh, yeah,
prop bet is Buffalo running back Devin Singletary over under 40.5 rushing yards. Cam Akers, the rookie from the Rams last week, I think he had the best game of his career. They can be run on this 49ers defense. So beat up. Devin Singletary kind of splits carries with Moss. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, one of their offensive tackles, our guard, I believe Cody Ford, got put on IR too for the Bills. They've had some injuries up front. Kind of same as what takes them. It's kind of hard on some of these mobile quarterbacks, right? Because a lot of them get yards with their own legs. So 40 is not a lot of yards. I think I'd still go a little bit over here, but don't feel great about it.
All right, let's get to a matchup that, folks, you are going to hate me when I'm done breaking this game down. Eagles, the team you just saw in prime time, get a lucky cover against Seattle. They are 9-point dogs in Green Bay, and if you watch Sunday night, Packers look like the greatest team in the NFC. They just shredded the Chicago Bears. That is a big, fat number, Geoff Schwartz. 9-point favorites for the Packers. When I preface it like that, you know where I'm at. Where are you on this game?
Oh, I'm on Green Bay putting in a 6-point teaser. That's where I'm on. Look, the Eagles are 1-4 against the spread on the road this year. They're not a good team right now. And we keep talking about this till we're blue in the face, but offensively, they're a wreck, right? And again, it is Carson Wentz, but it's also the coaching. And then they call a great play and the wide receiver just doesn't execute a screen. They touchdown, just didn't do it. So they're all over the place. But my concern with the Packers and backing them as such a big home favorite is they've tended to play a little bit down at times this year. And the Eagles' defensive line and defense is still playing hard. They're playing well. It's the offense that is the problem, right? Eagles' defensive line is really good, guys. They rush the passer really well. And I think that part of their game can keep this game much closer than people think. So I would probably lean a little bit Eagles here. Don't feel great about it because they're just a bad team on offense. But that's where I'm heading on Thursday.
Yeah, I will give more Sunday, but I can't give it all right now. But from the looks of things, the Green Bay Packers will be without their center, okay? They're playing musical chairs from what I'm reading from the beat writers. They're going to have a rookie somewhere on the offensive line. I don't know where that is. And again, Fletcher Cox, Barnett is a good Eagles front four.
Yeah.
That being said, if you remember last year, Green Bay hosted the Eagles. Eagles went in there. What'd they do? They just ran the football. Hey, we're not going to let Carson Wentz screw it up. Yeah. Carson Wentz leads the league in picks. He's taken the most sacks. Let's hand the ball off to Miles Sanders. Let's get it to Boston Scott. I think they can run, keep it close, and maybe get out of there. Also, buy low, sell high. We talk about markets, guys. Absolutely nobody's betting on the Green Bay Packers. On the Philadelphia Eagles. Nobody wants them. They just saw them on Monday night. This is a terrible team. What about the Packers? Everybody saw them Sunday night cover a big number against the Bears. I think they were 9-point favorites, and they covered. Where's all the money going to be, Geoff? Public money. Green Bay. Nobody's betting the Eagles. Just keep that in mind before we get to Sunday when we'll have more on that. All right. The prop bet is a guy named Devonte Adams, who may be the best receiver in the league. Geoff, he probably will be matched up with your buddy, Darius Big Play Slay. You guys, you and Clinton Portis kind of went after him on Sunday's show. He got upset on social media. Listen, this is what we do on this show. We pull no punches.
We're making friends.
Well,
it's okay.
Just so you know, Slay got torched by DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
And what's the parting gift? He gets to go up against Devonte Adams.
Look, I would say yes here, just because. And look, the way that Seattle uses DK Metcalf is they go him deep, right? They get him in open space. The Packers find ways to get Devonte Adams open via formation, right? So there's more of a chance, in my opinion, that he can get just an open touchdown than DK has to work a little bit harder for it. So I'd go over here. You got to lay a little bit of juice, but if you're betting on Adams, I would take him to score a touchdown, yes.
All right, everybody's favorite portion of the show, confidence picks. Now, you got to go all the way back to Thanksgiving for our confidence picks. Somehow I lucked into maybe a 1 or 2. I don't even remember. Let's get to the pizza play. Geoff Schwartz, you fire first. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Is that a team total?
Team total. So, look, the Bengals are on the road at the Dolphins. Did you watch the Bengals last weekend? They got 17 points on a kick return, by the way. So they got 10 points on offense. Typically, when you have a backup quarterback, the first game is the game where you get a little bit of juice, right? A little bit. The Dolphins are going to blitz the heck out of Bengals offensive line. I'd be surprised if the Bengals scored 7 points in this game. 14.5 is a lot. Give me the under.
Well, the second touchdown they had was total garbage, and I know this because I was on the Giants. And, of course, Brandon Allen gets like I almost said a bad word there, 2 garbage flags going down the field.
Oh, yeah?
The Bengals had like 150 yards of offense. That's a great bet, team total under. I like the Saints. You know, we talked about it earlier. If you're not going to give me 3 with the most complete team in the NFL, they are the only team in the NFL, the Saints. Top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. I'll definitely take the 2.5. Let's get to our fire picks. Geoff Schwartz. Ooh, look what we have here.
Go big or go home. I like Seattle here.
Seattle Giants, right?
Yeah. Seattle gets the Giants. I think Seattle might struggle a little bit, but not enough. I'm taking this from 10 down to 6. Arizona +9. I think the Rams win that game. That's a lot of points. And then Miami's going to be, come on, it's not going to be close. So I get better numbers here.
He clearly likes Miami a lot this week. We don't know if it's going to be Fitz or Tua. By Sunday, we will know. Remember to join us on Talk the Line.
It doesn't matter this weekend.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
All right. I remember having money on Tua against Denver. It mattered, Geoff. All right, Arizona, get 3. Listen, I know it's a tough one. Arizona's really struggling. They're in a funk. Kingsbury's struggling. I got to take 3 points. I think I have to take the 3. It's a divisional matchup. I don't love that, but it's one of my favorite picks. If that makes any sense at all, and it doesn't. Let's go to our lock of the week, Geoff. Obviously, this is our master lock play. Oh, Geoff.
You went. Look at you going teaser. I'm proud of you.
I have to. I had to go teaser. But my teaser is kind of opposite you. I'm teasing the Chargers through 3 and up to 7. Now, Geoff, this is my favorite stat I've seen all year. Okay. The LA Chargers on 6-point teasers are 10-1 this year. They play all their games are close. The only one they didn't cover, they were big favorites against the Panthers. And they ended up losing by 5. Remember, they had the hook and lateral, right? Yeah. But the Chargers are money because Herbert's great. I love the Chargers. And we didn't talk a lot about Vegas playing my Jets. This is a dangerous spot for the Raiders. I would not advocate them in Survivor. They could lose this game. But I think they're better than losing 43-6 or whatever against the Falcons. Don't love Gruden on a back-to-back road games. I'm curious. We didn't talk about that game. Your thoughts on that teaser that I put up there?
Well, I like it a lot because I can still get New England to win, and you can cover that game as well, so we both can get a win. Look, I actually think Vegas, I know people have said that what you've said, that kind of be weary of them. I kind of think the opposite, honestly. They got embarrassed last weekend. The whole team did, right? Offense, defense, special teams played terribly. The Jets, you're a Jets fan, you know this. They're not good. And that's very nice, right? They average 15 points loss per game. I think Oakland, Vegas goes back on the road again and just smashes the Jets. Takes care of business to show everyone, look, we're a playoff. They have to prove to themselves, Jason, they're a playoff team. I think they do this in New York this weekend. But I like the teaser because you bring it below a field goal. 8.5 is, but 2.5 is a lot better.
All right, so let's wrap on this, Geoff. You just said something really smart that they got embarrassed last week. I know as a gambler, when I get embarrassed, I really dig in extra. I'm doing double time work trying to find that edge. As a player, you get embarrassed like that. They got embarrassed in Atlanta. Yeah. What's the practice like the following week, and how do you rebound?
Well, it's This time of year, it's different. NFL is a little different than college too, because you're not really hitting, right? Because this late in the season, but it's more mental focus, right? It's finding little tiny edges here and there, and it's not letting off the gas all week in practice and really in the game. And now they go against a bad Jets team. It's different if you're playing the Chiefs now, but they're playing a bad Jets team who has nothing to play for, and they honestly want to lose, right? They hope to lose every week. So it's just it's the extra mental. It might be 15 more minutes a day you watch film. It might be an extra practice rep or extra rep in the weight room. There's like little things here and there that add up to your mentality on Sunday. But I do worry about that 10 a.m. Pacific kickoff, which has not been good lately for West Coast teams.
Yes, great stuff, Geoff Schwartz. He is the former offensive lineman. I'm a gambling guy who never got to play football, but I probably could suit up for the Jets right now. They're that bad, and I'm trying to stay in shape in the quarantine. All right, Geoff Schwartz, we will be back on Sunday with hopefully a special guest and talk the line the 1 hour before kickoff. Before you fire, you've got to watch us. We've got all the updates on injuries, COVID, where the smart money is. We'll see you guys on Sunday.